Welcome to State Circle. Coming up this week, one last big race for historic Pimlico and major changes for Washington Metro commuters. But first this week, Maryland's financial reputation takes a hit. Moody's rating service has dropped the state's long-standing AAA bond rating. Moody's wrote that the state recently addressed a trend of overspending in various programs through a combination of tax increases and restraints on expenditures. These actions closed a budget gap, although the need for further corrective steps may arise directly from federal funding cuts or the economic consequences of federal layoffs and other policy shifts to which Maryland has a very high degree of exposure. Joining us now, Senators Jim Rosapepe, the Vice Chair of the Budget and Tax Committee, and Justin Reedy, who is the Senate Minority Whip. Thank you both for joining us on the subject of the downgrade. Senator Reedy, how big a deal is it really?
Well, I think it's a stunning development based on the fact that it's been we've had a AAA bond rating in Maryland since before I was born, before Governor Moore was born. And so it's a sobering assessment of where we are from a fiscal standpoint in the state, and a lot of concerns that, frankly, we've not taken action on for a while that we need to take immediate action on.
Senator Rosapepe, you're in finance. To equate this to someone's personal finances, is it similar to maybe your credit score gets dinged, and when you go to buy that new car, you're gonna pay more interest? Is that about it?
Yeah, but it's a very small ding. I mean, they changed us from AAA to AA1, and they changed the prospects from negative to stable. So in reality, it probably is going to lead to about a 1/5 of 1% change in interest rates. So from a financial point of view, it's a tiny thing, but it is a big thing from the point of view that it didn't happen under President Reagan. It didn't happen under President George W. Bush. It didn't happen under President Clinton. It didn't happen under President George W. Bush. Didn't happen under Barack Obama. Didn't happen under Donald Trump 1.0. It all of a sudden happened since President Trump became president for the second time on January 20th. It is the Trump downgrade. What we've seen since Trump took office is an attack on Maryland's economy. The stock market is down, the value of the dollar is down, the economy shrunk in the first quarter. It's another hit on Maryland from the Trump administration.
Senator Reedy?
Well, look, Donald Trump didn't downgrade Maryland's bond rating. Annapolis's one-party supermajority Democrats did. They're scrambling really to try to blame somebody else now. The truth is, someone being president for 100 days and making some restructuring of the federal government. Look, Bill Clinton dramatically reduced the size of the federal workforce. This didn't happen, as Senator Rosapepe points out. Look, our friends in Virginia are in a very similar boat to us as far as federal government investment being a big part of their economy. They didn't have their AAA bond rating downgraded. It's a Maryland problem. It's a result of too much of a focus and dependence on federal spending, and also reckless spending and bloated budgets that we have in the state. And Moody's warned us a year ago. So they warned us this may happen. That was before Donald Trump was ever president. And lastly, I'll say we need the federal government. Maryland, both Maryland state government and Maryland taxpayers are federal taxpayers. We need the federal government to not be trillions of dollars in debt. So this idea that somehow reducing and restructuring the federal government in some way means that we lose our AAA bond rating, it's trying to absolve Governor Moore and the supermajority Democrats in the legislature for their responsibility. And I just don't think it passes the smell test with folks.
So, Senator Rosapepe, before I let you respond on that, I'll just point out that the Moody's quote that we read at the beginning of the program mentions, the impact of the Trump cuts, but it also blames Maryland for overspending.
Well, the fact of the matter is that we came into this session with a deficit. We came out with a surplus. And very frankly, my Republican colleagues, and I understand they're in a difficult situation with Trump as their leader because they're terrified that if they cross Trump, he's going to go on social media and skewer them, or Elon Musk is going to go on social media and skewer them. So the Republicans are in a very, very difficult situation. They can't stand up to Trump. The difference is the Democrats can stand up to Trump, and we can make tough decisions. So, for example, we came in with projections of a budget deficit. We went out with a budget surplus. And who voted against our balanced approach to cutting spending and raising revenue? The Republicans. So we're making the hard decisions, and they're, making their political points. I get it.
On the hard decisions, how much of the blame for this goes to the blueprint? The governor who was elected governor with the help of the teachers union wanted to roll that back. And we wound up, he got maybe a partial victory. And the blueprint, is billions of dollars in additional spending each year. Had the legislature gone the way the governor suggested, would that possibly have forestalled this downgrade?
I don't think at all. And Senator Reedy, I think, and I agree that we need some changes in the blueprint. And the governor proposed changes in the blueprint. And the blueprint is very, very important to improving the education of kids in Maryland. And we got to pay for it. But that's not what happened. We had the blueprint last year. It was this quarter, since January 20th, that the economy shrunk in the United States. Maryland is the most vulnerable to the attack on the federal government. And Senator Reedy makes the point that Bill Clinton made changes, reinventing government, improving government efficiency, and didn't create this crisis. It only happened under Donald Trump.
It's a crisis because we are so overly dependent on federal spending because our private sector job and economy in the state is completely stagnant. And when my friend Senator Rosapepe talks about making the hard choices to balance the budget, the supermajority, gerrymandered Democratic majority in the General Assembly, what they do is their hard choices, they never make the hard choice to talk about telling truth. They can't ever tell interest groups, hey, we just have to cut back government spending. Because to them, it's like cutting off their arm, even when they know they've got to make cuts. And this session, basically, the budget ended up being larger than last year, and they raised taxes, the largest combined tax hike in the history of Maryland. And yet Moody's still downgrades us because, yes, the federal government's making some changes, some big changes, some needed changes. But it's clear, Moody's has been warning for a long time, it's clear that we are not just over-dependent on federal spending, but we've over-committed the taxpayers of Maryland to a Mercedes-Benz government budget when our folks are getting by on, Ford Pinto budgets right now in their homes and in their businesses.
Justin, it's interesting that Moody's seem to like the tax increases because all they really care about is whether the bonds are going to get repaid.
Right. Sure. Moody's doesn't mind tax increases, just every business and every consumer that's going to pay this new computer sales tax and a number of other higher fees and taxes do mind. But Moody's does not mind in that regard. Their concern is the repayment of the bonds. But they're even recognizing that we're getting to the point where Maryland's entering a financial spiral where we can't just keep raising taxes to paper over these deficits. And so, yes, the federal cuts, they obviously are a factor, but anybody reasonable, and we warned as Maryland Senate Republicans, warned for a long time that if we didn't make changes, at some point the federal government was going to have to retrench. We have like $35 trillion in debt. The federal government, whether you like President Trump's exact approach or not, and by the way, the economy's, some of the numbers that my friend quoted Senator Roosevelt, they're starting to turn around pretty quickly now. The market is back up. There's a number of other things, positive things happening. Consumer prices are going down in a lot of areas. But whether you want to debate about that or not, the fact of the matter is the federal government was always going to have to make changes and retrench. And what we've done in Maryland for too long is we have crushed private sector job growth. And even these tax increases that passed fell heaviest on the investors that would be investing in creating more jobs and creating business. So I think we have to get serious about that and can't just be trying to blame this all on a president who's been president for 100 days.
Jim, it's your turn, but I do want to pick up on something you said earlier to help people understand the impact of this. It doesn't affect the existing debt. I mean, this hasn't cost the state a penny yet, but you talked about 1/5 of a percentage point of basically additional interest that the state's going to have to pay to get people to buy our bonds. So basically, instead of paying, say, 4%, it's going to be 4.2%. Is that about it?
Those are numbers exactly. Your math was not exactly right, but it's a tiny amount. It's a tiny amount. That's my point. Is that financially it's not a big deal, but it's another signal of the damage to the Maryland economy that the Trump administration has done. That's the key point. The stock market was at its highest level in history when Joe Biden left office. It's down since then. With all the tariff mischief that Trump has been doing, have you ever heard of the Port of Baltimore? That affects Maryland. The dollar is down. And now, obviously, Moody is down getting the rate because our state is more affected. Moody says in their document, we are more affected by what Trump is doing than any other state in the country. And Justin can say, well, it'd be nice if we didn't have the federal government. Well, I think it's good to have the federal government. I think Social Security is good. I think Medicare is good. I think health insurance for people is good. I think protecting Chesapeake Bay is good. And over the years, the Republicans have taken a different position. But I respect that. I'd love if we come together. But this session, we made the hard choices. We passed a balanced budget. We turned a deficit into a surplus, and the Republicans voted against it.
Senators Rosapepe and Reedy, gentlemen, we have to leave it there. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.